know well because you've had it before. One is Renaud the priest, you've heard him before too, and one is Rosette, Yan's youngest daughter, who in the real world doesn't have much of a voice, and until now hasn't said very much. And she is, I think, the main narrator of this book. And this is from the very beginning of the book. And it introduces Rosette, who is now nearly 16, and establishes what her voice is like. It snowed today. A week into Lent, a miracle come early. At first I thought it was blossom. Blossom out of the bright blue sky, covering the pavements. But there was snow on the windowsill and crystals in the sparkling air. It could have been an accident, but maybe it was something more. It hardly ever snows down here. It's hardly ever cold, not even really in winter. Not like in Paris, where sometimes the Seine used to crackle with thin black ice, and I had to wear my winter coat from Halloween to Easter time. Here in Lansquenet-sous-Tannes, you get cold weather for maybe a month. Frost in December, white on the fields. And then there's the wind, the cold north wind that always brings tears to your eyes. But today there was snow. It's a sign. Someone will be dead by dawn. I know a story about a girl whose mother made her out of snow. The girl is supposed to stay out of the sun, but one summer's day she disobeys and goes out to play with the others. Her mother looks for her everywhere, but all she finds are her clothes on the ground, bam, in a puddle of water. Narcisse told me that story. Narcisse, who owns the flower shop. He's old now, and someone else runs the shop on weekdays, but on Sundays he still comes in and sits by the door and watches the street and never talks, except sometimes to me. He says, "We're the quiet ones, aren't we, Rosette? We don't chatter like magpies." That's true. While Maman makes chocolates and talks, I prefer to sit quietly, playing with my button box or drawing in my drawing book. When I was small, I never talked. I sang and sometimes shouted, bang, or made animal noises, finger signs or bird calls. People like birds and animals. People didn't like me much, so I didn't talk to them, not even in my shadow voice, the one I use when I'm being someone else. Instead, I went into a bird and flew very high into the clouds. Or sometimes I was a monkey swinging in the trees, or sometimes a dog barking at the wind. But even then people didn't like me, except for Maman and Anouk and Roux and my best friend, Jean-Philippe Bonnet. But Maman is always working now, and Anouk is in Paris with Jean-Loup, and Roux comes and goes but never stays long, and Jean-Philippe, whose name is Pilou, goes to school all week in Agen and doesn't want to play anymore. Maman says not to worry. He hasn't really changed all that much, but now he's 16 and the other boys would laugh at him and tease him for playing with a girl. I don't think that's fair. I'm not a girl. Sometimes I'm a boy like Pilou. Sometimes I'm a monkey, a dog. Sometimes I'm something else. But other people are different. Other people care about these things. And of course I can't go to school. The school in Agen didn't want me. They told Maman I wouldn't fit in or talk the way I was meant to. And then there was Bam, who wouldn't behave and makes me shout his name, Bam! And sometimes there are accidents. And so now I learn what I can from books and birds and animals, and sometimes even people. People like Narcisse and Roux, who never mind when I don't want to talk, or when my voice isn't a little girl's voice, but something wild and dangerous. Maman used to tell me the story of a little girl whose voice was stolen by a witch. The witch, who was clever and devious, used the little girl's young, sweet voice to trick people into doing her will. Only the little girl's shadow could speak, but it was rarely ever sweet. Instead, it only told the truth, and sometimes it was merciless. "You're like that little girl," Maman said, "too wise for fools to understand." Well, I don't know if I'm wise, but I do have a shadow voice. I don't use it very often. People don't like hearing the truth. Even Maman prefers not to hear some of the things my shadow says, and so I stick to signing most times, or else I don't say anything. and if I feel my shadow voice wanting to break free, I shout, "Bam!" and laugh and sing and stamp my foot, the way we sometimes used to do to keep the wicked wind away. The priest was standing outside the church, looking surprised at the falling snow. The priest's name is Francis Renaud. I didn't like him when I first came, but now I think perhaps I do. And Renaud means fox, which is silly because anyone can see he's really a crow, all in black with his sad little crooked smile. But I do like the church. I like the smell of polished wood and incense. I like the coloured window glass and the statue of St. Francis. Renaud says St. Francis is the patron saint of animals, who left his life to live in the woods. I'd like to do that. I'd build myself a house in a tree and live on nuts and strawberries. Maman and I never go to church. Once that might have caused trouble. But Renaud says we don't have to go. Renaud says God sees us and cares for us wherever we are. And now here comes the spinning snow from a bright blue lantern sky. A sign, maybe even an accident. I spread my coat like wings and call, "Bam!" to make sure he knows it isn't my fault. Renaud smiles and waves his hand, but I can tell he doesn't see the flash of colours across the square. He doesn't hear the song of the wind or catch the scent of burning. These are all signs. I see them all. But I can tell he doesn't know. Snow out of a clear blue sky. Someone will be dead by dawn.